So, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
What the hell's going on out here? Everybody grabbing out there. Nobody.
That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
So 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
Free at last! Free at last!
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now, 559-899-1550.
Hey, welcome to Alan Autry No Retreat. I'm Alan Autry, and as always, honored and humbled to have you with us today on Big Wednesday. I wasn't able to make it yesterday. I want to thank Guillermo Moreno and Bullet Bob Leone for filling in for me. They did a great job. People didn't even miss me.
Yeah, we did. No, we missed you.
Yeah. You missed me like a fever blister. Yeah. But Larry and Jay, did you guys notice on social media, radio obviously, here we are right before the show. Everybody's on their cell phones. I mean, 10 seconds before, we're like pushing the buttons. And it finally dawns on me, what the heck am I doing? I got 10-second countdown and I'm still bashing the numbers. So I sent mine down. And I look over, my two compadres, even Larry, who has a big speaking engagement, so he's got an excuse. Big excuse. Guillermo over there, still up to like a half a second before the show's on, puts it down. What does that say? I don't know my point other than these things own us.
I'm connected.
They own us.
I was ordering Uber Eats for dinner, so.
This early? Oh, I was.
Well, that's
These millennials, they'll
probably
buy anything.
That's true. Yeah.
No, Guillermo's a picky eater.
I'm a very picky eater.
But folks, thank you for tuning in on the radio. What do you call it when you go on social media? Logging on. Appreciate you so much for tuning in. Again, thanks, Guillermo and Bullet Bob for a great show yesterday. Okay. The big elephant in the room. The Trump speech last night.
Woo! 2024.
All right, let's do our little analysis. Good, bad, helpful, hurtful, in between, good timing, bad timing. Let's see, with Guillermo.
All right. Well, so I think it's great timing. All right, because you have to remember politics it's a competition. It's not choir practice. You're not in church. You're not anywhere else. I mean, the political arena is a blood sport. I think Donald Trump, after hearing his announcement, because I think I'm going to repeat a lot of what I said yesterday with you two, but I didn't have the speech and I didn't listen to the speech before we hit the airwaves because obviously it was way before. But listening to Trump, it's a different Trump. And I wanted to see someone that was different than the 2016 Trump. Now, it's just one night. It's just one speech. Whether he's actually going to continue this, I mean, you look at all the pundits and you look at everything they said about this speech. He's boring. He was reading off a teleprompter. The biggest thing I see as well is that this is playing out like 2016. He said before he did the speech that he wanted the underdog feeling, right? Because he's a master marketer. He already knows the type of feeling he wants to have in the campaign. And it seemed very underdog. I mean, here you have the former president of the United States, and he's at Mar-a-Lago. I mean, it's no.
That's going to appeal to middle America.
It's no shack.
He was roughing it.
It's no shack. But compared to a former president of the United States, I mean, it was very humble. Let me ask you this. Now, I know you guys are going to flip. You guys are going to flip a lid. You guys are going to flip a lid.
No, I'm just listening in amazement.
Think about this, all right? Now, I know everyone's going to freak out. When Jesus came to this earth,
wait a minute.
He came.
Are you saying
no? I'm just
I want to hear.
I am just saying. He came down. Obviously, the Son of Man, the Son of God. Sorry, the Son of God.
Both.
He came down. Depends on what religion. But I agree with you. He came down, and he should have been received in a different manner. He should have been treated in a different way. And that's where my analogy stops. Here you have, and I don't know why people don't understand this. You have a former sitting United States president, whether you like the guy or not. Why is he the only former president of the United States that gets zero respect, zero credibility? No one acknowledges his true policies. And you know why? It's because of Trump hatred. Trump derangement syndrome is back. I was listening to CNN as we were airing it, and CNN was arguing, Anderson Cooper and Mick Mulvaney and the staff were arguing that he actually went off the teleprompter for a few seconds and ad-libbed. And I thought to myself, it's back. 2016 is back. The media is back with the derangement syndrome. This might play out like 2016 again. So those are my initial thoughts of the actual announcement last night. I think it's all great, and I'll expound on it later.
Larry?
Well,
didn't think I was going to go there, did you?
Yeah.
Very well said.
Two quick thoughts.
I just reminded of Reagan. It's not that, but it's not that Guillermo doesn't. He's not a person. It's just that he knows so much about what isn't so. But go ahead, Larry.
I think there's a triumphant Trump and there's a chump Trump. And so I think you have.
The left just stole that today.
Well, and Guillermo, you're right. People don't look at what he did in terms of legislative advancements, the positions that he took. Because take the African-American universities, for example. He did more to get permanent funding for them than any president in the history of America. So our black universities came out gangbusters as a result, but none of that is credited to him. When you have a personality that you either are all in for or you can't stand, we tend not to look at what they do. We tend to look at who they act like and how they act. And I think that's the thing that's hurting him. I think it's going to be a tough thing with DeSantis. DeSantis has appeal across the board.
I don't think it is.
I'll tell you.
I don't think it. Let me tell you why. I don't think it is, because at the end of the day, DeSantis has not been tested nationally. Okay, he's only been tested in Florida. He's only been tested in his backyard. We don't know much about him besides he's the great governor that handled COVID, that slayed COVID. You got to remember
not like Trump, who was tested in the development project in Harlem.
Yes,
that was the experience coming on. Gave him the controls to the most powerful country in the history the world has ever seen.
I think,
but his development business,
it's a different guy. It's you have
but he was elected on what that he hadn't.
Go
ahead.
He was.
I want to hear.
He was narrowly. He barely beat.
But
Andrew.
he was an outsider. They didn't want a politician.
Yeah, I think
the majority of the country didn't.
Yeah, everybody gives Ron DeSantis too much credit. I think Ron is a great governor. I think he's a great politician. I think he's a great leader. He does things very well. And if Donald Trump chose not to jump in, I'd be all in with Ron DeSantis. But you have to remember, when the rubber hits the road, Ron DeSantis will lose in a packed primary because all you have to have is a majority of the votes. Trump's going to get the base. There's more base Trump MAGA support than Ron DeSantis can gather from the other people. So if honestly, I don't think he's going to jump in. But if he jumps in, let's just be honest, President Trump, by the numbers, by looking at the map, by looking at it statistically, Donald Trump will be the nominee. So, and I think that's why Ron DeSantis right now is really thinking long and hard. Is this what I want to do? So Ron DeSantis is great, but he's.
How about a Trump DeSantis ticket?
I think that would be what I would prefer, but actually I wouldn't, because I don't think Ron DeSantis adds anything. Because at that point in time, they're gonna say, oh yeah, he's just Trump Jr. I don't think Ron DeSantis needs to separate himself and say, look, I support whoever the nominee is. I'll see y'all in 2028. Donald Trump needs someone that's not like him. And if you look at all the candidates right now, Ron DeSantis is the closest like him, which those Ron DeSantis supporters will say, I like him, but not Donald. I mean, come on, he shipped immigrants to another state. Trump didn't even do that. He shipped them back home, but he didn't ship them to another state.
Texas did it too.
Texas did it too. So I think Donald Trump needs someone on the ticket that can guarantee he can beat anyone on the Democratic ticket in 2024. I don't think Ron DeSantis gets him there.
Okay.
Sorry, Larry.
but
well,
I'm going to vigorously defend today.
No, but let me share just another quick thought about this. Sometimes personality causes losses that otherwise don't make sense. And I think somehow you have this love-hate relationship. Well, love-hate relationships separate people faster than just policy. And people can stand a policy that's a little off-center, but they can't stand, attitudes, personalities that are off-center. You either love him or you hate him. And I think that's the problem in the Republican Party is you have the established Republicans who cannot stand Trump. And so you're not going to have the organization across the board in the Republican Party that you have to have for Trump to win again.
But at the end of the day,
because it's not 2016.
It's not 2016. But at the end of the day, when you're choiced with a decision on the other side of Joe Biden, we didn't know how bad.
I don't think he'll run.
We didn't know how bad. Well, let's just say, okay, so that personality is out. What other personality you have? I think now it becomes a net neutral, because if you have Kamala Harris, I think you have.
Oh, Trump wins.
Yeah. So it just depends on who the left chooses. What about? I agree. People love or hate Trump, but let me tell you what. On the left, people are going to love or hate Kamala Harris. People are going to love or hate Gavin Newsom. People are going to love or hate Pete Buttigieg. So at that point, I think it's a net neutral, unless you get someone. There's no Ron DeSantis for the left.
Yeah. Well,
one quick thing.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Any candidate, you have to be able to spell their name. So Buttigieg is out.
Yeah. That means I can never run.
Well, yeah.
We got yours, Moreno.
Okay, I like that. There you go.
You can mess up that last name.
Oh, man.
And say some things that you don't. Ill-intentioned. I mean, totally innocent, and just get canceled. Now, you call him Pete Buttigieg because I fill in the blank. I mean, you got to watch that. Well, I've made my mind up a long time that I'm going to be purely analytical. That's why I became an independent. I see this country becoming so divided, becoming what George Washington, many of our founders, when they talked about parties being developed. Because that Constitution, that Declaration of Independence itself, war was fought and coordinated, policies were put in place and coordinated to get this fledgling country, number one, in existence and off to a really great start. No political parties. It's when the political parties came in because some believed George Washington and Benjamin Franklin, and that was the beginning of tribalism. And you had to find some way to have a republic, a representative government. Be careful that you don't become partisan on the issue that they started out with grappling with Jefferson and Adams. How big should government be? Alexander Hamilton thought it should be basically almost like the king. We're starting a new colony, a new country here, but central government has to be powerful. And that was met with opposition, like Jefferson, states' rights. So from that point till today, that tension has always been how big should government be? How intrusive in personal lives in terms of how it affects personal liberties and freedoms should government be since inception of our country? And this election is no different. What you didn't have back then was the ability to print a lot of money and pay a lot of voters. Everybody was out still hunting the raccoons for dinner, going out killing the squirrels, growing their vegetables in the backyard. And there was no social safety net, much less stimulus checks. They didn't even have stimulus rabbits to give to starving families. Here's your stimulus eggs. You're fine. They didn't have any of that. So it is a different world, as Larry says. Free money is very, very addictive. When you have something free, if you have somebody, would you rather have this free, like this latte? I'd rather have it free, or I'd rather earn the money to buy this latte. Human nature is, give it to me. So that's where people mistake it. I think it's a worthy discussion about human nature and how it applies to the United States government and the future of our country. Is America, are people born with an innate hunger to be free, or are they born with an innate fear of not being able to make it, of wanting to be taken care of, being led? History has shown us that the latter is very, very powerful. Must. That's why if you had people that could lead themselves and make the right decision, you wouldn't need leaders. No leaders would emerge, either good or bad. You wouldn't need a leader. If we could handle ourselves, as you mentioned, Jesus, we all would have done what we're supposed to, Adam and Eve, and be obedient to God and do what we're supposed to. We wouldn't have needed kings to develop and all that stuff.
Women, man, I tell you.
So we're at there. Oh boy. Okay. I hope your wife and mama
that was Guillermo.
I am personally sending Mrs. Moreno, your mama, this. Your wife knows you, so. Well, so does your mother. So.
Alan, you're right, but there's one thing that's different, and that is if the Republicans do in fact gain control of the House, it changes the political dynamic.
Right.
Where you don't have the incentives, you don't have the stimulus the same way.
Yeah, but it's already on the books. That's going to be a tough one to roll with because you have to you can put it forth, but you got to have the Senate ratify it. And then you have to have a president sign it, right?
But there's no more.
Well, you've got this.
And that's what they want is more.
Well, the thing is, I understand, but I happen to, I think, because listen to Tom Sowell a lot, and I think he makes a lot of sense. There's already enough in the pipeline to completely destroy the economy. It's how fast it's going to hit. I mean, you're over a 10-year period, you've got over about $7.3 trillion worth of money, and most of that money is not going to go to doing what we were told it was going to do. It's going to go to nonprofits to study an issue for about 10, 15 years and probably not do anything. Does high-speed rail come to mind here? We're going to do this.
But you'll get to choose your own doctor.
But you'll be able to choose your own doctor. But here's my point.
And your own seat on the bullet train.
Yeah. Well, let me tie all this little history lesson to last night in the election, the speech with Trump and Trump in general, whether he's the right nominee. I thought last night was the first nail in the political coffin for Donald Trump. I watched it, and it was not that energy. It wasn't. The same lines didn't work. Now, the ones that really wanted to work, that's what they saw. The fists being raised, a few MAGA hats. It wasn't there. And they acknowledge, a lot of staff members acknowledge that. We've seen this before. He was not a different Trump. He started out, in fact, I thought it was kind of ironic and silly when Fox News cut away. He was still speaking. They cut away on the Hannity show and started doing analysis of the speech before it was even finished.
CNN did the same thing.
And they started doing their analysis. And on Fox, naturally, this is a different Trump. He didn't attack people. He told about coming together. And all of this, it's a new Trump. It's a new tone. Then that was at about the 30-minute mark. Then he had another 30 minutes to talk. And if you listen to the whole speech, there was the old Trump coming back, slinging not just arrows, but nuclear bombs at the opposition. And people want strong leadership, and I believe the Republican Party has a chance here to do something very special, to be the one that does enough with the right candidate to begin the process of bringing this country together where you can have at least a healthy battle. The Hatfields and McCoys didn't seek to kill every member of the other family. They were looking for a way to. Now that to this day, they don't get along.
Selective.
Now even to this day, they've reconciled a little bit. But you have now where you hope to get someone who would get the other party not want to strangle to death anybody that's a member of the opposing party. Now, who's best to do that? Certainly not Biden. Last night proved, once again, it's not going to be Trump. So you're left with, is there anybody else out there? Is there anybody else there that has been tested? Which brings me to your point of honesty. In my lifetime, I've never seen a governor more, and I think governors happen to make best presidential candidates because they've been CEOs.
Much better than senators.
Senators and congressmen. They just know more. They're closer
Obama
to the people.
That.
Right. They're the top dog. Tag, you're it. The buck stops there.
Yep.
And he has been tested like no other. He took unpopular stances, which could have cost him re-election if it didn't work out the way he thought it was going to in the COVID situation. He chose not to shut down the street, not to make people stay in their homes and go crazy and insane. He made that decision early on based on his own research and with the science community to do that. You go forward, and he took slings and arrows on that thing. He stood by his guns. Then he gets hit with Hurricane Ian. He navigates that disaster flawlessly. Okay? Then comes the election because they're going to do a referendum. Let me tell you, there's a lot of Republicans in Florida, but you don't get 60-something% just with Republicans. He was able to get some significant independent crossover votes. Well, just independent votes. They don't cross over. They just decide who. And they went to DeSantis. He got a good section of Democrats and an enormous amount of Hispanic votes. You add all that together with a fella who has pretty much every position that Trump has. Secure the border, declare war on inflation, school choice, parents' choice in schools. You go on down non-burdensome taxation. I don't even believe they have a sales tax. But I don't think they do. You have people migrating there like 800 something a day going to that state. And then you have a guy who's been in Congress, congressman, very good congressman, becomes the governor, has been tested with 2 enormous crises, navigated, if not flawlessly, as close as I've ever seen any leader navigate it. And he's sitting there going, if he's willing, I don't see any way, because, again, let me break this down, then I'll throw it back to you all. Just speaking logistically, for lack of other, political logistics, political realities, political fundamentals, they're going to debate. It's going to be a highly contested if DeSantis gets in. Where in the world does Trump go to bring? There's no place to go. He can't call him Sleepy Jeb Bush.
Inexperience.
That is the biggest flaw that you could hit him with. Because you have a guy who came to you have a guy who became president, who said he's the best president ever, with zero political experience. Zero. None. Okay, now hold on. Okay. This is what you're going to be hit with. Telling a governor who has been in the hot seat in a political situation, navigated those crises, again, if you comparatively to other governors, pretty much flawlessly. He's able to talk with Democrats, stand strong and tall, and stand up against the woke movement very strongly, yet somehow not alienate the Democrats who feel the same way, but they don't want somebody up there calling people the sanctimonious and Sleepy Joe and calls them names, doing this Twitter stuff. They're tired of it. If there was nobody in the bullpen, if there was nobody ready, see that, but make no mistake. Last night showed every reason why Trump shouldn't run. And let me cap it with this again. I want to go back to get you all. This kind of reminds me in the Republican Party of when Joe Louis fought Rocky Marciano. If you guys haven't heard of these sandwiches, go Google it. Do a little research. He
was a boxer.
Oh,
yeah. Joe Louis.
I figured that.
Joe Louis was a beloved heavyweight. In fact, during World War II,
big time.
He was there was no bigger athletic hero, right?
No, right.
Not even Babe Ruth wasn't around at that time. But Joe Louis, the heavyweight champion, black man, who famously said, "We're going to win the war because God is on our side." That inspired so many people. People love Joe Louis. Black, white, didn't matter.
And a great person.
A great individual. Yeah. Okay. Go forward. There's he sits out for a while, gets beat. Didn't retire, but just didn't take too many fights. Then there's this young guy out of Brockton, Massachusetts, named Rocky Marciano. He starts his career, and he wants to be a baseball player. Somehow, fate turned him to boxing. He winds up getting this winning streak, 10, 15 victories. But the critic says he's not fighting anybody. He doesn't really have the experience. He's knocking out these guys, and KO after KO after KO. He gets to like 40-0, 43-0. And a little short guy, 5'10", short arms. Joe Louis, 6'2", out like a 7-inch reach advantage. Well, they signed to fight. Joe Louis was the sentimental favorite. Everybody loved Joe. Joe's the guy. He was like a 5 or 6 to 1 favorite. over Marciano. But Marciano was young, well-conditioned. He had a heart to fight. He had everything that the young Joe had, that the old Joe had lost. Okay? Rocky Marciano proceeded, and he hurt him because Joe Louis was Rocky Marciano's idol. To punish, Joe wouldn't go down. Rocky just laid a horrible beating. And the last image we have of Joe Louis is Rocky knocked him not only out, he knocked him completely out of the ring. Out cold. It was horrible. People were happy for Rocky, but their hearts were so sad to see Joe laying there because he didn't have to take that fight. People in the know knew who was going to win that fight. Rocky Marciano himself cried because he said he should not have taken the fight. He didn't want to take the fight. But he says, you got to do this. This is your lone chance. DeSantis has got to make a choice. If he doesn't run and Joe Biden wins, he has a heart. His wife has had cancer. He's and the reason I say that he's went through some real tough things in life. There's not just some golden boy born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He has been tested in ways that you really can't measure that will serve him so strongly as a leader and has in Florida. That's what you're seeing, that life's experience. When you go on the campus of Yale and you're wearing your shorts and everything and people are laughing at you, you see and you live in that world of elitism. You find what elitism really is. You see how they really think towards the common person. And that's why the woke movement, he's so against that. But he got that degree from Yale, which opened up a lot of doors for him. And I see this fight. If DeSantis runs, he's going to beat Trump. And what's going to happen at the outset, because I felt sorry for Trump last night. Once he's been president. There's something to it. There's this energy, a spirit. You don't go back and do it again. If I went back and ran for mayor again, it just wouldn't be right. You've been there. You've done that. It's time for somebody else. And I'll end on this. Trump's, and it was apparent last night, because he starts saying, he went with Trump. That Trump did that. I did this. I did that. Just like being on a football team, you have owners like Jerry Jones, who wants to control things. But he's an owner, and he's 70-something years old. He wants to micromanage. He wants to call every play. You've had in times coaches, general managers that want to do the same thing. Coaches that want to do the same, want to micromanage everything, call every play. Then you have quarterbacks like Brady that want to call the plays. Okay? Usually it's one or the other. Trump wants to do all four. He wants to own the team, coach the team, be the general manager on the team, and quarterback the team. Therein lies the flaw. DeSantis knows how to put together a great, great team. He's shown it. So that's where I stand on it. It's not anti-Trump. And I want to end at least this segment with my salute to Trump. Not only Trump, policy-wise. As Star Trek said, he boldly went where people were afraid to go. He took on the media. That's my number one thing that I think it is, because the media has been for a long time just an arm of the Democratic Party, a political action committee, NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN. And that's being acknowledged now, even by the new owner, the new stockholders at CNN. They saw that. That's why they're cleaning house. Okay? He took them on big time with a wrecking ball, treated them like they treated leaders, especially Republicans. He did something about the border. He realized the problem there. He gave more money to historical black colleges and put in policies that would benefit all Americans, regardless of their race or gender. You can go on and on and on. He did a great job when he was there, but God puts people in different places, including leadership position, at different times, and there's different qualities that he uses. The people, you hear the phrase, that leader was right for the time. Franklin Roosevelt was in a wheelchair. Okay? But he was right for the time. A lot of people, the reason I say that, a lot of people held that against him, is that being disabled, there was a whole mindset. And he blew that right out of the water when people found out he was in a wheelchair. Oh, people that face that can still lead? You bet. lead us through one of the most difficult times in our history. And you look at Harry, but that was Harry Truman. Harry Truman came in. Would Franklin Roosevelt, we can debate whether they should have dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But the projections were millions of Americans were going to die if they didn't. So that utilitarianism that Truman possessed dropped the bomb. And it stopped the war immediately. I mean, you can go on and on and on about George Washington, the man for a time. Who would go into battle at 6'4" on a horse? But he knew he needed to inspire this little ragtag army. He stayed back safely in the cabin. His people weren't going to fight. I don't know anybody in my lifetime to get on a horse at 6'4", here I am, and they looked at his battle. He had bullet holes all through his coat, but it didn't hit him. God picked the right person for the right time in America. And I think, anyway, okay. Do you want to tackle this? Or do you want to go to break first?
Oh, no. We definitely.
Just a quick comment. They've done some surveys of younger voters, and younger voters are ready for more than a two-party system, which is kind of interesting. So my question is, will the two-party system survive when you have a split Republican group, and you have really a split Democrat, and you have a gaining independent voters? So are we really at a five-party system in a lot of ways? Republicans with two candidates, Democrats with, that were Republican in nature in a lot of ways, conservative, still family-oriented, love the Lord, those kind of things, and then independents. I think we are currently experiencing the effects of a five-party system in a two-party system.
Well, I think as long as you can unite after debates, you don't have two parties. The moment you can't unite, then you have Israel, you have a lot. There's like 8, 9, 10 parties,
coalition governments.
But as long as you can come together, both parties have been able to do that pretty regularly. Whether that stays that way, I think if it doesn't stay that way, like you have this contentious Republican primary that's sure to come, and at the end of the day, if Republicans, it's going to be a bloodbath, and they unite for the election of mine. Same with the Democrats. I think the two-party system is the best, with a growing independent. I tell people, leave the party, become an independent. It's not a third party. You're not a member of a party. You keep your own brain. Nobody sends you these pieces asking for money. And you can sit there. We independents are the biggest voting bloc. Right now, a lot of people don't know that. We outnumber registered Democrats and Republicans by far.
In California.
Everywhere. Across the country. Do your research.
I don't know.
The independents, look it up right now. The percentage of Americans that are Democrat, Republican, or independent.
What?
And I'll stand corrected if I'm wrong on that. But I tell people, come to the independent movement. You're still politically engaged. You just don't give up your brain to Mitch McConnell or Kevin McCarthy. All
right. So I have a, bless your heart.
No, or Nancy Pelosi. I was wrong. If Rich Schumer, AOC, you don't give your mind and your spirit and your common sense up. You keep that intact. Don't let any party take that from you, because that's what's happening.
Yeah. So there's a lot I want to respond to. I think the biggest thing is we have to remember that different time periods in America call for different leaders, and you said that, so I totally agree. We're in total agreement with that. So
I just Guillermo had a little hiccup in his talk there because I just pointed up that DeSantis is speaking Fox right now. Go ahead.
So it calls for different times. Back when W was in, we were attacked. So you needed someone with foreign policy experience.
Right.
He really didn't have any. Okay, and that's why Dick Cheney was able to run amok. When we elected Obama, we needed someone here at home. We had domestic issues that we had to grapple with, so we got Obama. During Trump, the same thing. We had domestic issues. We had racism that had to be tackled. So different times in American history calls for a different leader.
I agree.
Ron DeSantis is not ready for the problems that persist in America in 2024.
Give me reasons A, B, and C for that, or just
sure.
Give me A and B.
Because the issues that we're going to have to handle in 2024 are foreign policy issues. They're world issues. The world issues now are strangling America.
And you think Trump and Biden have a better grasp?
Not Biden. Trump had a better grasp at it.
By what measure?
Well, when he was president, you had gas at historic low.
Mm-hmm.
We were building the pipeline.
That.
China, we were working on our second.
For the pipeline.
We were on our second. You could be for the pipeline, but this guy, he hasn't been tested.
Yeah.
Xi probably knows about him. He's probably never had a conversation with Xi. So our gas was low. He had China on the run. He renegotiated NAFTA, which multiple presidents tried to do.
Mm-hmm.
There was no Ukrainian conflict around the world because people.
What can he do? All right, let me ask you this. Your mind, what? Okay, but let me just for a second. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But he's not. That's what I'm saying. Right now, those issues have now become even worse. So get the guy back in that had all these issues at least tampered, because he's the guy that on day one can go in and make all these changes. Ron DeSantis has not been tested on the world stage ever. But in Trump's position, that was a plus, because they didn't know what he was going to do. Remember, you said on this show, they don't know what he's going to do. And they still don't know what he's going to do.
Well, no, he's got a record of what he does. You just told me what he's done.
He doesn't know what he's done.
You just told me what he's done.
And that is very true, which is very scary, because now people that work behind the scenes at the White House say Xi didn't know where he was at. Peña Nieto and USMCA didn't know where this guy was at. Trudeau didn't know where this guy was at.
It created a fear in them.
It created a fear in them that made them change their way. Here's the other thing we got to remember. Donald Trump only has 4 years left if he's elected. Okay? He is not going to be tied to any interest group. He's not going to be tied to anyone.
Well, he never has.
Ron DeSantis is going to come in. He's going to want to be a two-term president. You go in and you govern differently. DeSantis,
that's a broad statement about his character he just made.
About Ron DeSantis?
Mm-hmm.
He's an establishment creature. Ron DeSantis is going to be
in what establishment?
George W. Bush. He was in Congress. I mean, this guy.
Yeah, but you're saying, what does his record in Congress make you think he was an establishment?
The fact that he's been there, the fact that he's been, when you're in Congress changes a person.
John Kennedy was there, and he was pro-life.
John Kennedy was on a different trajectory.
He was totally untested as a senator. Turned back the Cuban Missile Crisis. He was a stellar leader. Because he had been in a war before. He had previous experience.
Ron DeSantis
not in office.
Ron DeSantis is no JFK.
Not even close.
No, listen, I'm not trying to third degree, but because you're making these opinions, which I respect, with a certain certitude, and I'm just wondering, because it goes counter to what I'm seeing. I don't know, and I'm not asking you to know every single thing that he did in Congress that would make you think he sold out to a left agenda or a non-conservative agenda. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen, again, one step where I've seen him work with people across the aisle, but I haven't seen him or heard, and believe me, the media, they've scoured every decision. If they found him in a very apparent, blatant hypocrisy, hey, you voted back this here when you don't see any of that, and that's why I think they're very scared. Let me tell you why I think Trump should run. I think he should run for this reason. The more Trump beats up on DeSantis, the more DeSantis is going to seem acceptable to the independents and some Democrats. Because I don't see anywhere Trump is going to go after you've played the so-called inexperience card, not been there card. Okay, that might be legitimate. Some people may come and believe with you. Probably a lot of people in the MAGA movement do. But once you've done that in a debate or town hall, where do you go then? Where else do you go?
You focus on yourself, because Trump has so many achievements.
People are tired of that.
Overshadow.
They get it.
Ron
it's like Tom
DeSantis. Brady
up there going, I know I threw 4 interceptions, but remember my 5th Super Bowl? Man, wasn't I good in that 5th Super Bowl? Remember when I brought them behind in the 4th Super Bowl? Remember the 1st Super Bowl, how I brought us from the jaws of defeat? I did that. People are going, Tom, you're 45 years old. It's 2022, and you're 4-5. Your record is 4-5, and you just threw a critical interception.
These achievements, these achievements are.
Let me ask you this: if you had a chance to pick between going forward in your you just bought a football, okay, pro football.
Which one?
And you just pick one. Which one do you
Raiders.
want?
I'd get rid of Carr.
Okay. You get rid of
in a hurry.
Okay, you got rid of Carr, and you got a chance to get Tom Brady or Pat Mahomes. Who do you pick?
Both.
No, you got to pick one.
If I own a team, I got money. I'll get both.
No, you don't though. You got to pick one. You're not going to pick. You can't pick DeSantis and and Trump for president? You got to pick one.
Vice president,
No, but that's not
the analogy's
president.
not working out. I'd have to say.
Brady's had all the experience. He's got all the Super Bowls. He still seems like he can do it. He talks good. Good leader.
I'd say Brady.
You would.
Yeah.
That explains everything, Larry. Let's go.
No, because I mean the guy
you
loves
pick Brady for your franchise quarterback
for
the next 4 or 5 years. He's 70-something years old, so you're going to pick Trump that can only go 4 years on a guy who could, and so you would put Brady for 2 years rather than Mahomes, who's already better than him at 25. That'll be your franchise quarterback for the next 15 years.
Mahomes isn't hungry.
Brady.
Mahomes isn't hungry anymore. He's not. Look at Tom Brady.
Who's the hungry?
Tom Brady lost his wife. He loves football so much. Mahomes is not hungry.
Have you seen Mahomes run the ball lately? The tackles breaking. That man wants to win as much as anybody. Larry, let me
share something
you
with you.
make good points.
It's going to be 2 years of great radio. I love it.
No, but listen,
I love it.
Seriously, I understand your position, and I see how a lot of people could be there. But I'm saying, remember, I gave a preface. I've got to be analytical. I'm 70 freaking years old. I can't afford to be a hyper, out of my mind, partisan, hell or high water. That hey, I've got to think about my kids and my grandkids. That has to figure into this equation, whatever it costs me. But I do understand what you're saying there. I'm coming from an analytical, but I don't want you to think that. And folks that are MAGA movement, thank goodness for the MAGA movement. Thank goodness for the conservative movement. I'm not going to sit there and demonize Make America Great Again and say that's solely Donald Trump's. If you do that, you're playing in that half the country, 80-something million voters, are out of their freaking mind, and they're not. They're not.
Can I make 2 quick points? We'll go over Larry.
Sure.
The first one is, here's the first one. Well, 3.
Larry's watching a tennis match.
They'll be quick. Number 1, I don't think Ron DeSantis jumps in. I don't think this problem is going to even arise, number 1, because he's a smart guy. And I think he's smarter than everybody in that respect. So I don't think he's going to jump in. Number 2, I'm not sure we even win with Trump or DeSantis at the helm because we still haven't figured out how to make sure that we patent down all these states early voting. Yeah. Let's be real.
Yeah, you're right. See, that's being analytical.
Well, I'm not a partisan hack.
But you're partisan. There's nothing wrong with that.
Republicans hate me.
You're far from a hack. You're very. I've told you that.
You're listening to KXTX 1550
All right, Larry, jump in here.
Hold on, I got one last one. The last one is unity. Let's be real here. Everyone, even Trump said it last night. This isn't the party of me. It's the party of us.
And let me tell you all I've done for you.
Yeah, because it's really about me, not about you, but we're going to say us because we love each other. But no,
that's actually pretty darn good.
Biden says it. We got to cut the you-know-what. Unity is one of those things like world hunger, all right?
Yeah.
No one's gonna throw and say unity. So those are my 3 points. We can aspire to it. But let's all be real. Trump's not going to bring unity. Ron DeSantis isn't going to bring unity. Biden's not going to bring unity. No one's going to bring unity. So we got to stop this march towards.
Well, on that encouraging note, Larry,
let me tell you, I would choose Josh Allen. He's going to survive longer in this league than Mahomes simply because he's physically fit for it.
Not the one that fumbles on the 1 yard line.
No.
That was an aberration.
That was an aberration.
I've been there. I've done that.
Yeah.
That's easy to do. That's easy to do,
Let me share
folks.
something with you. If you take a look at the breakdown right now in America, 37% claim themselves to be independent. 33% claim themselves to be Democrat. So
how about Republican?
Republican is 26%.
So what is the biggest voting bloc?
So the biggest voting bloc is independent, but
yes, Guillermo.
But I was going to do a honey
wait a minute.
Ham on
You got to go a little deeper dive. Of those 33%, 50% of them are Democrats. All right. So 42% are Republicans. So in the independents, if you take the lean, which the way they lean, 50% independents lean Democrat, 42% lean Republican. Then you have to go the next step of the independents. Who votes? The leaning Republicans vote more than the leaning Democrats in the independent side. So it's a wash in some ways. So what every political party, both political parties have to do right now They have to convince the voting independents
exactly
about the whole thing.
Exactly right. That's what I've been trying
wins.
to tell Guillermo, my beloved brethren, my little brother here, that you have to break this thing down and make a smart decision. If you didn't have two candidates that were worthy, I would say absolutely you got to go with Trump. But you have Glenn Youngkin, unproven, but he inspires people. I trust him coming from his business background. He's a lot like Trump. Made a lot of decisions like Trump, Youngkin did. Was able to win in Virginia. That's tough to do as a Republican, to win in Virginia. So it's tough to let go. It's tough when a guy has done so much with his policies for the country to move on and do the smart thing. I mean, it was tough for the 49ers to let Joe Montana go. It was beloved. But he had Steve Young behind him that it was time. I mean, Green Bay had to let Brett Favre. I tend to make a sports analogy every now and then, if you haven't noticed. But Brett Favre was tremendously beloved there. But it was time to make the move to Aaron
Carlos
Rodgers.
Brown go.
Man, that was the worst decision they ever made.
The worst decision ever. No, you know what? I've always said that all this excitement they've had during the Favre and Rodgers years, they owe a lot of that to me. You know why? Because if I wasn't so bad when I played, they would not appreciate what they have like they do right now. So I feel they should give me a big thank you.
Did you at least get season tickets out of it? Can you go to the head of the line at Lambeau?
I used to back when they were losing, but now
now they just give you Raider tickets.
No, I'd get the public PR guy to call me back right there instantly, same day.
They're playing.
Now it's like 3 months later. I got to put in 5
Thursday
calls.
night. They're playing this week, Thursday night.
Who are they playing?
I can't remember who it is, but our pastor Dale Okos is going to be at the game.
Is he going?
Yeah,
he usually goes one time.
He does. Yeah.
Did you know Raiders have a package right now where you can go to the game for $75? You can get on the field and call the plays.
That costs too much. But you're still not going to win. So I'm not paying $75. I'm not going to play. What do you think about Derek up there being emotional?
Man.
What's your thoughts? Let's change. We got like 4 minutes left. What's your thought?
Well, I don't have a problem with it because I think it's important that you wear your emotions on a sleeve because football is an emotional game. And as you know, you play it without emotion, you don't win.
Yeah.
And I think when you think about it, what is it? Except for one blowout loss, they were one touchdown in all of those losses.
Yeah.
And I think it's the defense is killing them.
Yeah, I think I feel for Derek. I know Derek not well, but I think he's feeling very bad about what he did, and I think it's not about the loss; it's about him showing that emotion and crying. For this reason, he's a very strong Christian. Yep. Derek is on fire Christian, and even strong Christians can lose their perspective when they get into pro sports with all the pressures. And I know if that voice. That Holy Spirit inside him would say, you know what, you got to stand up here, you got to be strong. I know it's tough, but you can't say, you don't know what my teammates put in their bodies just to sleep at night and have this outcome, in terms of the injuries. But he's had time to think about that because that statement is saying the other side doesn't. Other teams that are struggling don't put the same things inside their body. And then the big perspective, I think, it is an final analysis as a Christian. It's a game. You get very well paid, but it's a game, and you got to keep it in perspective. Nobody's life is hinging on that scoreboard. And he's had a son at Valley Children's Hospital, did basically miracles with, saved that little boy's life, and my grandson, a lot of time out at Valley Children's. You've got to keep that perspective. And then shortly after his emotional situation at the press conference, you got 3 football players shot down, killed in Virginia on the bus. 3 football players that will never even get their chance to play pro football.
From UVA.
The University of Virginia. They'll never get a chance even to walk on as free agents, to have a chance to have the dream that you have had. And I'm not beating up on Derek. I just know any Christian would have those thoughts after that display. It's very tempting. It's very emotional. It took over my life. And I just played 3 years, and I wasn't very good at all. Completely took me over. It took me a long time to break free of that ownership of professional sports because it's very intoxicating. And you measure your self-worth You measure your feeling of success or failure by what happens on the field. And if you're winning, you're great. If you're losing,
and every fan thinks they know more than the player.
Sure,
they do.
That's the nature of the game. He was.
And
hey,
so,
here's a guy that would pick Brady over Mahomes.
Look.
He knows more than anybody.
There's no crying in football. There's no crying in football. Oh, give me it. Listen, Derek Carr is getting ready for his second act. And that's what you saw at that press conference. And he was wearing the Bulldog windbreaker. Come on. He's getting ready for his second act.
You're just like those Southern coaches out South Carolina. Come on, boy. What you doing there crying them crocodile tears? Tell up. We got to go out there. We got the Denver Broncos coming up next. What's wrong with you?
He's getting ready for his second act. Doesn't he have like a production?
Oh, he wasn't acting.
He was getting ready for his second
act. He's heartbroken.
He's going to be done in about 1 or 2 years. He's going to come out and he's going to make tons of money on how the NFL.
Well, I guess I got to call his agent and say, hey, forget having him on the show here.
Oh, yeah. We love you, Derek. We love you. There you go. We love you. I love the guy. I think he's great.
Let me put an ad.
Oh, yeah. You're still like Trump.
He's
totally gutless.
I love the guy.
Let me put an ad.
Totally gutless. He came to his knees to me for my endorsement. I hope I said, don't get on your knees. Come up. But next time you come, bring your knee pads.
Quick ad. Powell to the people last week. We talked about joy, even in an election that doesn't go your way. So check out Powell to the people.
I need to.
Yeah, Powell to the people. Guillermo Moreno, are you on today at 4?
I am. Yes, I am.
God bless you. Love you, folks. Just remember, do your best. Let God do the rest. Trust that. You won't be okay. Bye-bye now.